When a personality like Donald Trump reacts to a religious festival, there's always a dramatic twist to it. If he were to witness Eid-ul-Adha, his first impression might very well be something like, "Muslims do sacrifice, very powerful, very spiritual." Behind this line lies a deep realization, an acknowledgement that Muslims don't just celebrate a festival, they keep its true essence alive. The act of sacrifice during Eid-ul-Adha is not merely a traditional ritual, it's part of a spiritual journey. This festival reminds us of the sacrifice of Prophet Ibrahim A.S., who without hesitation prepared to sacrifice his own son at the command of Allah. For Donald Trump, whose life revolves around business, power, and media, this concept may be surprising, but when he says very powerful, very spiritual, he is in fact recognizing the emotional and spiritual weight of the occasion. In Trump's world, the idea of power has always been tied to politics or wealth. But when he refers to the Muslim sacrifice, it's not about that kind of power. It's about the power of faith, the strength to surrender completely to the will of God, spiritual strength, strength that doesn't come from money or fame, but from belief and devotion. When a person sacrifices something they love most for the sake of God, they are breaking free from worldly attachments. For someone like Trump, this could be a new perspective. In America, sacrifice is often symbolic. On Thanksgiving, people eat turkey, but it doesn't carry the same spiritual significance as Eid-ul-Adha. In Eid, every Muslim, rich or poor, takes part equally. Sacrifice for them means submission, a declaration of loyalty to the Creator above all else. So, when Trump says, "I respect that," it's not just a diplomatic gesture. It's an appreciation of a tradition and culture that has been practiced for thousands of years. He begins to understand that this isn't just a cultural or regional practice, but a universal message of obedience, faith, and submission to divine will. And perhaps that's why, when he sees the sacrifice and says very spiritual, he begins to feel that sacred connection between man and his Creator. Through sacrifice, he understands that real power lies with the one who gives everything and has the authority to take it back, and that true submission is when a human bows to that authority without question. For Muslims, Eid-ul-Adha is not just about meat or celebration. It is a living example of devotion, where the love for the Creator is placed above all other worldly attachments. And for Trump, perhaps witnessing this would lead him to say just this: "I may not understand everything, but I can tell this sacrifice. It means something real." When Donald Trump says, "They remember Prophet Ibrahim, total loyalty, amazing story," it's more than just a passing comment. It reflects an acknowledgement, perhaps even admiration, for a figure who represents the core of unwavering faith and obedience. Prophet Ibrahim A.S. is not just a historical character for Muslims. He is a symbol of submission, sacrifice, and trust in the Creator beyond all human logic and emotion. To say he showed total loyalty is to recognize one of the most powerful moments in spiritual history, when a father was willing to sacrifice his own beloved son purely because God commanded it. This isn't a fairy tale or myth. For Muslims, this is an actual legacy. Every year during Eid-ul-Adha, the memory of that test is revived. The rituals aren't just symbolic, they are a living act of remembrance, and that's what makes it so powerful. Donald Trump, a man who thrives on loyalty in business and politics, might see in Ibrahim A.S. a level of loyalty he's never experienced, not from board members, not from voters, not from allies. This kind of loyalty doesn't come from fear or benefit. It comes from faith, deep, absolute faith. Prophet Ibrahim didn't question the command. He didn't hesitate. He simply prepared to carry it out, fully believing in God's wisdom, even though it meant giving up the one thing most precious to him, his son, Ismail A.S. That's not just loyalty. That's a kind of spiritual courage very few can even comprehend. In today's world, where loyalty is often conditional and trust is easily broken, This story stands as a timeless example of devotion that never flinches. Trump, who often values strength, decisiveness, and bold action, might resonate with the dramatic gravity of Ibrahim's test. It's the ultimate test of leadership and submission at the same time. To lead your family in the path of faith, to teach them to trust God, even when the outcome seems impossible, that's leadership beyond power and control. That's leadership rooted in belief. And what happens next in the story? At the very moment Ibrahim is ready to fulfill the command, God replaces the son with a ram, not because he wanted the boy to die, but because he wanted the world to see what real submission looks like. It was never about the sacrifice of blood, it was about the sacrifice of ego, of attachment, of self. That's the amazing part of the story Trump refers to. It's not about what was lost, but about what was proven. A man's loyalty to his creator beyond all doubt. Every Eid ul-Adha, when Muslims perform Qurbani sacrifice, they are not just following a ritual. They are stepping into the legacy of Prophet Ibrahim. They are reminding themselves and the world that true faith is not passive. It is active. It demands action, and sometimes it demands letting go of what you love most. For Trump, who often equates greatness with winning, the story of Ibrahim might redefine what victory really looks like, not in acquiring more, but in being willing to give everything for something greater than yourself. And maybe that's why he calls it an amazing story, because in a world that celebrates ego, the story of Ibrahim A.S. celebrates surrender, and that is the kind of loyalty that even power can't buy. When Donald Trump refers to Qurbani as not just meat, he touches on something far deeper than a casual observation. To him, meat might be seen as just a commodity, an item to be bought, sold, and consumed. But when Muslims engage in Qurbani during Eid ul-Adha, the act of sacrifice is not just about the physical act of slaughtering an animal. It's a profound expression of faith, a manifestation of tradition, and an essential form of charity. The concept of Qurbani sacrifice has a spiritual depth that goes beyond the physical. Muslims understand that the meat is not the focal point. The act of offering something valuable for the sake of Allah is what truly matters. When a Muslim sacrifices an animal, it is a symbolic act of offering what is precious to them in obedience to God's command. This is not just a ritualistic gesture. It is an affirmation of trust in the Creator and a reminder that all things in this world belong to Him. The animal, whether it is a goat, cow, or sheep, is a gift, but the real essence of Qurbani lies in the devotion behind it, in the willingness to let go of something valuable, not for personal gain, but as an act of devotion. This act of sacrifice is also a deep expression of tradition. Eid ul-Adha is a continuation of a practice that goes back thousands of years to the time of Prophet Ibrahim A.S., whose faith and willingness to sacrifice his own son have become the bedrock of the festival. Every year, Muslims all around the world follow in the footsteps of Ibrahim A.S., reenacting his commitment to God's will. The act of Qurbani ties individuals to their ancestors, to a history of faith and sacrifice that transcends generations. For Muslims, it's not just about the present. It's about honoring a long-standing tradition that has defined their relationship with God for centuries. But Qurbani is also about charity, and this is where the true beauty of the tradition shines. When the meat from the sacrificed animal is divided, a portion is kept for the family, but the bulk of it is given to those in need. The essence of the sacrifice is that it doesn't end with the one performing it. The joy of Eid is shared, not just within one's own home, but with others, especially those who may not have the means to afford a meal. This is a powerful reminder of the collective responsibility Muslims have for one another. The sharing of the sacrifice underscores the value of community and the importance of caring for those less fortunate. For someone like Trump, who has often spoken about the importance of generosity and charity, understanding the depth of Qurbani as an act of charity would be significant. In the West, charity is often seen as a voluntary act, a noble gesture that individuals perform. However, Qurbani is a required act of charity built into the very fabric of the faith. It's not an option, it's a duty. Every eligible Muslim is expected to partake in it, making it a community-wide obligation that brings everyone together in the spirit of giving. It's an institutionalized form of charity designed not only to feed the hungry but to instill within the community a sense of collective responsibility and compassion. Trump might also come to appreciate how Qurbani addresses inequality. Unlike charity that sometimes feels like a one-way transaction, Qurbani ensures that the act of giving is shared among all members of society. It balances the scales by ensuring that those in need are not left behind. It's not just about giving from abundance, but about a direct, tangible sharing of resources, the kind of sharing that builds stronger, more unified communities. And when he says, "big deal," it is more than just a comment on the significance of the tradition. It's an acknowledgement of the scope of the impact of Qurbani. It's not just a ritual. It's a living, breathing act that extends far beyond the moment of sacrifice. It is about building a culture of giving, of remembering the less fortunate, and of practicing faith through action. Ultimately, Qurbani is a reminder that life isn't just about what we can acquire. It's about what we can give, what we can offer in service of something greater than ourselves. And that's what makes it truly significant. Because in a world that often focuses on accumulation, the true measure of wealth lies in the willingness to give. When Donald Trump comments that in America, we don't do this kind of sacrifice, maybe we should, it offers a rare insight into how he might view the practice of Qurbani and the broader concept of sacrifice within the American cultural and social context. America, as a nation, has a deeply ingrained culture of individualism, success, and self-reliance. The focus is often on personal achievement and the pursuit of happiness, with an emphasis on material wealth, comfort, and the accumulation of resources. In this environment, the idea of sacrifice, especially one that is not for personal gain, but for a higher cause or collective good, might seem foreign, or at least less common. The kind of sacrifice that Muslims perform during Eid al-Adha is different from the typical American approach to sacrifice, where sacrifice is often seen as something one does in order to achieve a personal goal or gain. In the American context, sacrifice is often associated with the idea of giving something up for the sake of progress or success. For example, people may sacrifice time, leisure, or resources in the pursuit of wealth, career advancement, or personal ambition. The sacrifice is seen as a means to an end, a trade-off between effort and reward. However, the Qurbani of Eid al-Adha is not about giving up something for personal success. It is about giving for the sake of Allah, for the well-being of others, and for the strengthening of community ties. It's an act of faith, obedience, and charity, carried out without the expectation of any material gain. Trump's comment suggests that perhaps there is something missing in the American way of life, something that could be learned from the practice of Qurbani. Sacrifice in this sense isn't just about the self, it's about the collective. In Islam, the act of sacrifice is intertwined with the idea of community. It isn't only the person making the sacrifice who benefits, it's the entire community, particularly the less fortunate, who receive the benefits. By giving away meat to the poor, Muslims ensure that everyone, regardless of their financial standing, can partake in the joy of Eid. In a country like America, where wealth disparity is often stark, the idea of a collective sacrifice for the benefit of others might be an important lesson. Trump may recognize that in the competitive, consumer-driven society of America, there's little space for the kind of selflessness embodied by Qurbani. In a society where individual success is celebrated and often equated with personal worth, the idea of sacrificing something valuable simply to give it to someone else without any expectation of reward might be a radical shift in perspective. The American dream, after all, is built on the idea of striving for individual success, the pursuit of happiness through personal accomplishment. But what if the real pursuit of happiness lay in giving back to others, in creating a society where people sacrificed for one another? In a society that is often focused on achieving more, accumulating wealth, and securing a better future for oneself and one's family, the concept of giving away something of value for the good of others might seem counterintuitive. Yet, Qurbani offers a profound counter-narrative to the American ethos of self-interest. It is about prioritizing the collective good over the individual, about considering the well-being of others as integral to one's own spiritual well-being. By emphasizing the importance of charity and sharing, Qurbani teaches the lesson that fulfillment and success are not found in the accumulation of wealth, but in the act of giving and uplifting others. Trump's statement may reflect an acknowledgement that in the face of the growing wealth gap and increasing individualism in American society, the practice of Qurbani offers something that is missing: a sense of shared responsibility, a commitment to others, and a reminder that true prosperity is not just about what we take, but about what we give. Perhaps this is something America could benefit from: a rethinking of what it means to be successful, to be wealthy, and to live a meaningful life. It's a reminder that in our pursuit of personal happiness and prosperity, we must not lose sight of the needs of those around us. If America were to embrace this spirit of sacrifice, not in the sense of giving up one's dreams or ambitions, but in the sense of prioritizing community, charity, and selflessness, it could help bridge the gaps between the rich and the poor, the privileged and the underserved. In this sense, perhaps it's not just a question of whether America should practice Qurbani, but whether it should adopt the deeper values that Qurbani represents: faith, humility, and a commitment to the collective good. Because sometimes the true strength of a nation is not in what it accumulates, but in what it gives away. When Donald Trump remarks, "Distributing meat to the poor, amazing system, better than our taxes," he is recognizing something deeply powerful and fundamentally different from the way charitable acts are typically structured in Western societies. In many countries, including the United States, charity is often associated with donations, taxes, and government programs designed to help the less fortunate. However, the practice of distributing meat during Eid al-Adha is something entirely different. It's a direct, hands-on, and communal act of charity that involves sharing tangible resources with those who need them the most. In the case of Qurbani, the meat from the sacrificed animal is not just given away to charity in a formal, bureaucratic manner. It is shared directly within the community. A portion of the meat is kept by the family who performs the sacrifice, but the majority of it is distributed to the poor, the needy, and those who are less fortunate. This ensures that the benefits of the sacrifice are felt directly and immediately by those who may not have the means to afford such luxuries. The beauty of this system lies in its simplicity. There are no intermediaries, no red tape, and no complex processes. The person performing the sacrifice is involved in the act of giving, ensuring that those in need receive the meat without having to go through a long, impersonal bureaucratic process. Trump's comment about it being better than our taxes highlights a stark contrast between the two systems. In Western societies, charity and welfare are often tied to taxation, which can feel distant and impersonal. Taxes are collected by the government, and the distribution of resources is often handled through programs, agencies, or non-profit organizations. While these systems are undoubtedly important and provide much-needed support, they can sometimes feel disconnected from the people they are meant to serve. The process of giving through taxes, though necessary, can sometimes lack the personal connection and sense of direct involvement that comes with a hands-on form of charity. In contrast, the practice of Qurbani involves direct action and immediate impact. The person performing the sacrifice takes the time to personally ensure that the meat reaches those who need it. The act of giving is not just a financial transaction, it is a personal investment in the well-being of others. This personal connection is something that Trump might find particularly striking. It is a system that prioritizes human connection over bureaucracy, a system where the person who sacrifices is actively engaged in the process of giving, and where the recipient of that charity feels the warmth and sincerity of the gesture. Moreover, Qurbani is not only about giving material resources, it's about reinforcing the spirit of community and shared responsibility. The practice reminds people that they are part of something larger than themselves, that their actions can have a direct and meaningful impact on those around them. In a world where individualism and self-interest often take precedence, the communal aspect of Qurbani serves as a powerful reminder that we are all interconnected. It encourages a sense of collective responsibility, where the well-being of others is seen as a shared concern, not just the responsibility of government or charity organizations. Trump's comparison to taxes also highlights a fundamental difference in how charity is viewed in different societies. In many Western countries, taxes are often seen as a necessary burden, something that is taken from individuals by force and distributed by the government. While taxes undoubtedly fund essential services, there is often little sense of personal agency in how that money is used or how it directly helps others. In contrast, the act of distributing Qurbani meat is an expression of personal responsibility and voluntary giving. It involves individuals making a conscious decision to share what they have with those who are less fortunate, not because they are required to, but because they want to. This voluntary nature of giving is something that might appeal to Trump's views on personal responsibility and free will. Ultimately, the system of distributing Qurbani meat offers a powerful alternative to traditional charity structures. It's a system that encourages direct, personal involvement in the process of giving, and one that fosters a sense of community and shared responsibility. It's a system where the person performing the sacrifice not only contributes to the well-being of others, but also strengthens the bonds of their community. It's a system that reinforces the values of charity, humility, and selflessness, without relying on the impersonal nature of bureaucracy or taxation. In a world where government programs often feel distant and disconnected from the people they are meant to serve, the system of Qurbani offers a more immediate and personal way of giving, one that is rooted in faith, community, and the shared responsibility of caring for those in need. Because in the end, charity is not just about giving resources, it's about creating connections and building a stronger, more compassionate society. When Donald Trump states, "Qurbani connects us with God," it's a reminder of sacrifice, humility, and obedience. He is recognizing a fundamental truth about the spiritual significance of Eid al-Adha that goes far beyond the act of sacrificing an animal. In Islam, the act of Qurbani is not merely about the physical sacrifice of an animal. It is a deeply spiritual act that connects the believer with God in a very intimate and personal way. It is a ritual that brings individuals closer to their faith, reminding them of their duties and obligations to their Creator. At its core, Qurbani is about submission to the will of God. Just as Prophet Ibrahim a.s. demonstrated his absolute trust and obedience to God when he was asked to sacrifice his son. The act of Qurbani is a symbolic reenactment of that trust and submission. The person performing the Qurbani does so not out of personal desire or for any material benefit, but purely as an act of obedience to God. The animal that is sacrificed is a symbol of the believer's willingness to submit to God's will, to let go of attachment to worldly possessions, and to place faith in something greater than themselves. This act of obedience is a reflection of the humility that is essential in the practice of Islam. Humility in Islam is not just about bowing down in prayer. It's about recognizing one's position in the universe and acknowledging that everything, including wealth and possessions, belongs to God. When a person performs Qurbani, they are reminded of their dependence on God for all things. The act of sacrifice is a humbling reminder that no matter how much one may acquire or possess in this world, it is all temporary and ultimately insignificant in comparison to the eternal significance of one's relationship with God. It is a way of grounding oneself in humility, recognizing that true value lies not in material wealth, but in spiritual richness. The Qurbani also serves as a reminder of sacrifice. In today's world, sacrifice is often seen as something to be avoided. People are taught to pursue their desires, to acquire as much as they can, and to live a life of comfort and ease. However, Qurbani reminds believers that sacrifice is an integral part of the human experience and a path to spiritual growth. The act of giving up something valuable, something that one may have worked hard for, is not only a test of faith, but also a means of purifying the soul. It teaches that fulfillment is not found in accumulating wealth or possessions, but in the willingness to give, to share, and to sacrifice for the greater good. This reminder of sacrifice is vital in a world that often prioritizes self-interest over the well-being of others. Furthermore, the act of Qurbani highlights the importance of empathy and compassion. It is not just about sacrificing an animal for one's own benefit, but about sharing that sacrifice with others, particularly those who are less fortunate. A portion of the meat is distributed to the poor and needy, ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to partake in the blessings of Eid. This aspect of Qurbani reinforces the idea that faith is not just a personal matter, but something that must be shared with others. It is a reminder that we are all interconnected, and that true spiritual growth comes from serving and uplifting others. By sharing the sacrifice, believers express their gratitude to God and strengthen the bonds of community. Trump's statement about Qurbani connecting us with God also acknowledges that it is a form of worship. In Islam, every act of obedience to God is considered a form of worship, whether it's prayer, fasting, or even the simple act of showing kindness to others. The Qurbani is a tangible manifestation of devotion, a way for believers to express their gratitude and love for God through action. It is a reminder that worship is not just about rituals or words, but about living a life that reflects one's faith in every action. In this way, Qurbani is not just an act of religious observance. It is a profound spiritual journey that brings believers closer to God. It is an opportunity to purify the heart, to practice humility, to sacrifice for the greater good, and to strengthen one's relationship with the Creator. It is a reminder that faith is not just a set of beliefs, but a way of life that requires action, sacrifice, and obedience. Ultimately, Qurbani is a powerful reminder that the true essence of faith lies in submission, sacrifice, and humility. It is a reminder that no matter how successful or wealthy one may become, the ultimate measure of success is not found in material possessions, but in one's devotion to God and their commitment to serving others. Through Qurbani, believers reconnect with the divine, strengthen their faith, and reaffirm their commitment to living a life of sacrifice, humility, and obedience. Because true closeness to God is found not in what we have, but in what we are willing to give.